Do you have goosebumps?
Yes, I do.
Jesus Christ. I was gonna say like an intro thing, but I'm like, that intro is just so fucking
It's our best
good.
one yet.
It really is.
Oh, and my
Ugh.
hairline has slowly grown in every intro, and I appreciate it.
I know, it's so funny. No, thank you to Alessandro again, Mask of Shy, does great animation work, and he's done all of our intros. And I've been, for the past like few days since he. I mean, sadly we couldn't get in the debut episode, but still, it's like I said, I didn't want to rush him. Um, and so he got it to me Friday, I think it was,
Yeah, it was
and
Friday because that's when you DM'd me, which
yeah,
was funny because you actually posted it online
yeah.
before I got to see it.
Well, I didn't post it on Twitter quite. I know. I knew you were working. I was so anxious. I was like, "Oh, please, Scott, respond quickly because I want to show you." I know. And then I got anxious, so I started posting it on like the YouTube and stuff like that. I didn't post it on Twitter quite yet, but yeah. But yeah, that's like his best intro that he's given us, and it's just like, yeah, it just gave me goosebumps just seeing that again right
I
there.
didn't realize I could look so badass with a cane. Not gonna
Right?
lie.
I mean, canes can be good. Canes
Cane's
can
gonna be
be
really
good.
good. But yeah, I love my action pose where it's like cane motion.
You're right. The last little pose right there, badass intro. Yeah, like that. Yep. There you go. Pretty much there, Adam. Yeah, is there like a little bit of that, or it's just like rocking out? Ding, ding, ding? I don't know. Maybe.
It's just something. One thing, and we had fun because the clip last week was the actual intro for Batman Beyond, and we talked about Darwin Cook
Yeah.
and all that goodness. But I want to. This is the beginning of like Shirley Walker steps away at this point.
Yes.
This is when it becomes the trio that basically animates anything. Sorry, not animates, that composes for anything that Bruce Timm produces for like the foreseeable future. Because it's Michael McCuson, Christopher Carter, and Lolita, and I can never pronounce her name. And they've been composers who've been hanging around the whole time, but they become a composition trio from here on out. And I think the theme is specifically credited to Christopher Carter,
Okay.
but the use of electronic music and synthesizers and just an electric guitar, it just works so well for this series because of the cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of a weird, it can almost be jarring after all these years of straight up full-fledged symphony orchestra. It's a full orchestra we've been dealing with, because we've talked about this before. For every episode of Batman the Animated Series, for every episode of Superman the Animated Series, it was a live orchestra recording a score that was specifically written for that episode, you know, week after week, episode after episode. And this is when they changed, but yet it feels fresh. It's still good music, probably because it's composers that have been around the entire time. They're just playing with different tools now.
Yeah.
And it's really weird for me because I don't know if I talked about it on one of our streams, but a couple of weeks ago I watched the John Williams documentary on Disney Plus.
I still have to watch that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's
Oh,
so
I know.
good.
Oh yeah, I'm watching
But
it. Don't worry.
it's funny is that they talk about how it was. I mean, John Williams grew up thanks to his dad in a very classical, he's used to orchestras. And the idea of doing orchestra music on Star Wars was such uh, a gamble especially for the late 70s. But then he makes a comment at the end, and I like the way he frames it, is that he says, I don't dislike people using synthesizers and electronic music. He says, I think it's really cool what they're doing with it. He just hoped that orchestral music would never go away. It
Yeah.
wasn't that he didn't like what people were doing. It's just he just hopes that both can coexist at the same time. And I think that's cool because we'll also see that later in the series where they'll still bring the orchestra back for, moments. Because once again, whenever you have a flashback, we can't have this music. We need.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and that's great too. And it's somebody who's just like going, hey, this is this is where it all came from. He loves that it's evolved into something. And it's kind of funny because with this episode, with part 2, I was paying attention more to the score. So I'm glad and I was like, did we actually talk about like a lot about the score last episode? I don't think we really did.
I think we more just like rocked out.
Yeah, we're just rocking out to it. So, but I was paying attention more in this in part 2 here, and I was going, yeah. I mean, what they're doing with the electronics and everything, it really just fucking works.
And not only that, and there's this might seem weird, but I wonder if you're like with me on this.
Okay. Well, if it's weird, then probably. Yeah.
It's electronic music that doesn't feel dated.
Yeah, you're right.
Because like you listen to an 80s score and an 80s synthesizer, and it sounds 80s. So much so that people like what Christopher Drake did on the Dark Knight Returns animated movie, or what the Newton brothers do with like Stranger Things. It's like there's a way to make a sound that it's from the 80s, or they're trying to invoke the 80s.
Yes.
This does not try, in my opinion, and maybe I'm just being an old man here, it doesn't sound like it's of a particular period. It just sounds like electronic rock music, and I feel like that's timeless in that way.
Yeah, no, it fits the vibe. I mean, they use some synthesizer stuff. I mean, but the electric guitar and all that, and the drums and stuff. No, it doesn't feel like it's it doesn't feel like you said, when they try to capture the 80s like in Stranger Things, they do a great job of doing that. But when when I was listening to the score with with part 2 here, I was kind of going, hey, you know what? Yeah, it does have a little bit of that vibe, but it doesn't make me go, oh, this is like 80s. Nah.
It doesn't sound 80s. It doesn't sound particularly 90s.
No.
It just sounds like rock.
It sounds like rock. And good to see you, Rhea. Rhea's in the chat.
Oh, Rhea! She had a very nice vacation, by the way. I've been following.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
I know, right?
I saw the picture. I was like, God damn. All right. That's fun. But so we're talking about, of course, Rebirth Part 2. Previously on Batman Beyond, we saw, of course, they do the recap thing, and
which is weird because you notice how the recap didn't have any like actual music playing. It was like it was like some weird ambient sounds. It made the intro even creepier in a way. But this does follow a pattern that we have discussed throughout the Fan-imated stream. Part 1, lots of dialogue, lots of setup, lots of great character stuff. Part 2, all the action.
All the action is here. I know. Not many notes. Not
a lot of notes. My notes are very, like, if you looked at my notes, it's quotes. And because this is a very quotable episode. I mean, when I reposted the link, there is one particular line delivered by George Takei that is like, when I think about this episode, because I think it was in the intro or the commercials for this episode, it's the line that just, like, when I think about it, just sticks out. Like, this is what I think about when I think about this episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, you are correct on that, where it's, obviously they were setting up everything, and it was a lot of like, okay, so we have Warren, we got Terry's dad who gets a disc, and then we got Harry who turned into, something. We don't know exactly what. There's a comparison, though, that I'm going to make.
Okay.
When it comes to that whole thing, that I was like, oh wow, this gives me this vibes, and I was like, but it came out before. This came out before. But then there's a lot of action because Terry, of course, finally is going to get into the suit. and oh man, that whole back and forth's great. But yeah, so we get a little bit of the recap, and then of course it's like obviously we ended with Terry showing up at Wayne Manor and that whole dramatic, like, oh, here we go, we're in for it now. And of course, Bruce is looking at the distance. So now we finally know what is on that disc.
Yes, so it's the mutagenic virus that's spread through a nerve gas.
Yeah.
Boy, does that piss Bruce off.
Yeah, because he's
I'm like,
using his company.
company.
Powers is using his company, so well, not his company anymore, but Wayne Powers company. So.
But Bruce still calls it his
Yeah,
company.
of course.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, Powers Technologies basically took over Wayne Enterprises, but they're using all of the Wayne Enterprises infrastructure.
Yes, and resources and
And
everything.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so it kind of reminds me of that scene in World's Finest when Bruce Wayne's looking at Lex Luthor and is like, I
Yeah.
don't like guns. It's
Yeah.
this idea that he's making weapons because it's funny. I think about like the Marvel universe and Tony Stark and Stark Industries and and how it was a weapons company,
Yeah.
at least as depicted in the MCU. But that's never been Wayne Enterprises thing. It's almost like he's intentionally stayed away from weapons development. And he often expressed concerns in the animated series about technology that could be weaponized. Like I said, in that scene from World's Finest, when he's like, I love it when he tells Lex Luthor, tell your buddies at the Pentagon, I just don't have the imagination. And here, now that Bruce has stepped back from the company and Derek Powers is the CEO and he's calling the shots at the company, and now they're straight up, committing war crimes at this point with what they're developing.
Yeah. It's he's not too happy. And then of course, like Terry is just like, okay, while you're looking at that, I'm gonna look at your bat suit. And Terry, showing that he has some knowledge when it comes to things. And he's just like talking about, this thing enhances your strength, and it has
Synaptic response.
it has all this stuff. And he goes, even though it's old, it still would work pretty well.
He always says, even though it's old, it's cutting edge.
Cutting edge. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is true because it's like, even the timeline is, this is the last.
This is 50. This is 50 years total after the original animated series.
That's right.
What we did establish in the last episode is that when Bruce was using the suit, he was using it. It was when we first see it was 30 years after the end of the series.
Yeah.
And now it's been 20 years since he developed the suit.
There you go. Yeah. So, Terry's just kind of fumbling with that. And then, of course, when Bruce was like, okay, well, you got to give this disc to somebody. And we get a nice little name drop.
Commissioner Barbara Gordon.
What? I love that. It was cool. It's cool to like hear that. Of course, you got to, obviously you're going to make her commissioner. But yeah, it's just like, there we go. We got a character. We got more of a little something connective tissue, of course, to the past. So.
Yeah, and we don't even see her. Nope. That's a reveal to come later.
Of course,
it's a nice little. It's a connection of, okay, we're 50 years later. Where is everybody? Like, Gordon clearly dead. Alfred clearly dead because it's 50 freaking years. But where are the people who would still be alive? At this point, and so it's. Yeah, that was actually my very first note for the episode was Commissioner Barbara Gordon.
Love that. Love it. So then, of course, he just, hey, Bruce is still he's not feeling Terry quite yet, of course. He wants to help out, of course, but he's just not quite feeling him. So he's like, all right, yeah, go do that. And then Terry's just like, all right, well, I'm going to walk over there. And then, of course, a flying limo shows up. And, of course, that's where Powers is. And then he doesn't want to get in. But, we got... of course, Mr. Fix is not going to allow him not to get in there, and we finally.
Okay, I want to take a minute to look at Mr. Fix for a second.
Yeah,
that wardrobe choice. That's a.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. I mean, he's got like the frilly, like Three Musketeers era, cuffs coming out of the jacket.
Yeah.
while also going, dude, you seen some shit because you're missing an eye.
Missing
Like,
an eye, you got some scars. Yeah.
yeah. You want to know how I got these
These
scars? Yes, actually,
scars.
Mr. Fix, I do. Please,
Yeah.
please tell me.
Yeah. Say it in that George Takei voice.
Yeah.
Please explain it. We
Oh,
love it.
okay. Let's see if I can. I
Oh
will see if I can do this.
my.
Not the oh my. It's like, you want to know how I got these scars?
There you go. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been working on it.
Good. Good.
Workshopping it a little bit.
You got to workshop it. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, George Takei. He's got that unique voice, man. And then of course, he wants Powers knows he has the disc, and then he's just like, and then Terry, he does a pretty good job of like, oh yeah, here you go, and he pulls it out of his sock, and then hands it to him. But then of course he does like a whole thing where he just basically tosses it, gives a nice little swift kick to the fix.
Jewel, to the jewels.
Yeah, that
Mr.
doesn't
Fix goes down pretty hard.
Yeah, of course. Any
Yeah.
man would. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
It really doesn't take much. It takes you could breathe. It's like,
Trust
geez.
me, I've had enough little people headbutt me
Oh
there.
yeah, you got young boys. Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I've wrestled around with my nephew, when he was a young one, and even others like that sounded weird.
Yeah,
No,
I would just stop.
No, I just mean like you play
you goof around and
goof around. There you go. I was like trying to find the right words. Somebody clip that out. Oh my god. No, but you guys know what I'm saying. Obviously, you got nephews, got cousins, so there's always rowdiness that's happening. It's going to happen. A foot, a little fist,
knee,
a headbutt. It's like sometimes it's just like you're just like boom, oh.
And even a glancing blow is going to take you down.
Oh yeah, any little thing, but yeah. So you got to keep that. Anyways, we went off on
that was a weird tangent, even for us.
Yes, absolutely. But you get what we're saying. We're trying to emphasize that just getting kicked in the nuts not fun, even for a big guy like Mr. Fix. Okay.
And then Terry goes jumping off the side.
Starts doing some Dick Grayson shit.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But it's interesting, and I don't know if this was intentional or not. I want to say it is, just because I want to have faith in the creators like this. But when Terry goes running down that street into like that alleyway, and there's like a billboard above it, there's like a green head face that I swear looks like, from the comics, the graphic interpretation of Oracle on. When Barbara was Oracle and she would communicate through the computer, there was always that face that would appear on a computer screen that would it looks a lot like that green face on that billboard. And I don't know if that was intentional or if it was just a happy accident, but I loved it.
I'm sure it was intentional. I don't know. It just seems like if it's that close and it's like, oh yeah, this will, somebody who's watching this is going to know, kind of thing, maybe a little Easter egg or something. I don't know. But yeah, so that all happens. He gets away, and then we get and then I love this right here, because we go back to Wayne Manor, and Wayne hears Bruce hears Ace barking, but he's not barking towards the outside.
Before we get some important plot points.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Because he's watching the news and they're talking about this foreign minister from Kasnia.
Yeah, sorry.
Who just looks like you're just a bad guy. Like you're drawn like a bad guy, lots of shadows, you're wearing red. We don't like you. And you're shaking hands with Powers, which makes you a bad guy too. But I also love the fact that Bruce is there just eating soup.
Of course. Gotta eat soup. But then that's where, so we're already establishing, so this guy's a factor in obviously this episode. And then of course, that's where we get Ace barking in. But like I said, he's not barking outward. He's not barking at somebody from the outside. He's barking like at the house.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck? Something's going on here. But I'm just like, it is kind of funny, because even though it makes for a cool thing that happens, because he's just tied with a rope to to the fence essentially. And Bruce just throws a batarang to just like slice it to like, hey, like instead of just going like, obviously he's old. He doesn't want to like go down and untie him and whatever. I love the fact he just ching, ching.
And I love the fact, and I love the fact it's one of the new
Yes.
batarangs.
Yeah.
He just has one of these like
Yeah,
laying around.
of course.
I mean,
He's
just
Bruce Wayne, and he still has perfect accuracy.
accuracy. I know, because that sucker just goes right where it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry. Let's just stop and appreciate what an
that,
awesome
just a sexy
design
batarang. Yeah,
the new batarang is. Now this is the light up one that you could get at Walmart, and is a variant of a batarang that we'll see later on this season, actually. But there's a new one you can buy down the DC shop that does what these batarangs do, which is, of course, these parts are inside, and when it shoots out, and then these parts like spring, they spring out. Because I love what I'm going to talk a lot about tonight for me, as I was taking notes, was how this episode does such a great job of introducing all the elements of the suit. Like the suit really does get showcased. It's like, oh, it has this feature, it has this feature, almost James Bondian, and like, let's introduce each little gadget that this suit has
and emphasize like certain things. Like they do a really good job without like you being going like, hey, you have this as part of the suit or this is part of the suit. It's not.
Well, they don't
explained.
that's the thing. They don't expositionally explain it. He just uses the stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the intro. Oh, basically we just go, oh, the suit can do that. Oh, the suit can do that. Cool.
Pretty sweet. Yeah. So Ace, of course, comes in and he's like, what is it, boy? And of course, he comes into the house and he barks at the grandfather clock. And it's like, okay, something in the bat cave. And then Bruce goes down there. Guess what? The bat suit is missing. Terry's pretty crafty. How the fuck? I mean, well, I guess it's not as hard when it's like all you had to do is really get past Ace. And then you got old man Bruce. But even that's a little bit of a challenge. But I mean, again, we're seeing Terry again going, oh, wow, this guy. This guy's the right guy for the job, like for the new Batman gig, because he obviously we saw him do like some aerobatic kind of
like you said, Dick Grayson shit.
Yeah, kind of some Dick Grayson shit. We saw him in the first one. We know he knows how to fight, and he knows how to ride a motorcycle, and then now he knows how to be stealthy. Okay, yeah. So I mean, so like in a way, he's already like he's
proving himself already.
He's proving himself to Bruce. Even though Bruce is like not wanting to do this and not wanting to deal with it, and he's still very much get off my property lawn, Bruce, But so there's that, and then of course, then we see Terry, of course, flying through.
But I also love the fact that he's not good at it.
No, it's not. It's surprising that he didn't crash into like a full-on window and inside somewhere and scared the shit out.
Because also at this point, the suit is just him gliding. He's just gliding.
Yeah, he's not really flying. He's just gliding. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's bad at it, which I appreciate. It's like, no, you're not going to immediately put the suit on and be good at this.
No, even though he probably knows someone, he has knowledge of the functions, sure, but yeah, he's just all about let's get to Wayne Powers and see what the fuck is going on, because it's like, no, I got to figure it out. And then we get a really cool function of the suit is the fingerprint listener thing.
Yeah,
so cool.
The mics and the fingers, and I love it because he just like he puts, and it's the two fingers, and I like it. And when he pushes it, I like how suddenly you see like the circuitry.
Yes,
in the suit, like it's so cool.
Doesn't have to be explained. They animated just perfectly to show that it's like boom, and then he puts that, and all of a sudden he's hearing everything that they're fucking saying in his cowl, and I'm like, it's just so cool. Just so cool. But obviously we're hearing Powers just like talk about the mutagen and talking to that whatever bad
Cassidy informed.
Yeah, that guy.
Whatever. Yeah.
And just basically going like, this is how we can have it in gas form. And first he shows them like with plants, and he shows it with like a goat. Okay, so what this reminded me of?
Okay.
Mission Impossible 2.
Oh yes, the
Yeah,
chimera, the
the
chimera
chimera
virus.
virus, where it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like after a certain, because obviously it's still a kid's show. You see, like when they actually did it on like Harry and whatnot, or like first it shows like this goat.
It's a
But
cow. It was because it
oh,
was
was it a
last.
cow? I thought it was
It
a
was,
goat. I don't know why.
it was a calf. Yeah.
Okay, it was a calf. But obviously it's like, oh yeah, we show the gas being shown, but they're not going to show what happens to it. And then of
But
course
you get the reaction, like
you get the reaction. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, it just reminded me of like Mission Impossible 2 a little bit. Although in Mission Impossible 2 they kind of show, even though it wasn't that gruesome. And then of course they show Harry where you start seeing like those, boils or
Splotches all over his
whatever.
body.
And then it like you see more, and then all of a sudden you just see that dude's reaction, like, after
But
very,
what I also loved is that he had all these progressive photos. It's like,
yeah,
here's the initial dose. Here's
yeah,
24 hours later. Here's 2 hours after that. Here's
yeah,
1 hour after that. But I also appreciate the fact that Power shows them these pictures. I still think it's funny that he's basically showing them Polaroids
yeah.
of Harry. But then I also love the fact that he then hands it over and Mr. Fix just burns them. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for being a smart bad guy. Burn after reading.
It's all smart. It's all smart because he didn't want to have any kind of digital what are they called? Footprint of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of any of that, and this is what, 1999. I mean,
Yeah, 1999. Yeah.
So it's like, and again, that's before even Mission Impossible came out. That's why it was kind of funny because I was thinking Mission Impossible 2, and I'm like, wait, that came out in 2002. So this was what Mission Impossible came out after. Anyways, but yeah, it's really cool that it's like, okay, here's some photos in this futuristic world, and then here, burn these because we got to destroy the evidence. And it's like, oh yeah, fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I was like, wow. You wouldn't. I mean, they went to that sort of detail, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Smart.
But once again, it's kind of like the monologuing joke. Don't sit there and explain your plan to the hero. And if you have evidence, destroy it. I am one of those people that's like, if you're gonna be a bad guy, be a smart bad guy.
Be a smart bad guy. So, we love smart bad guys because then the heroes have to be even smarter, and
Exactly.
we love that too. Come on. And then of course, after that is all done, of course, Powers is like, what's going on with Terry? We don't, we don't need him be running around. And then of course, we get that thing that response from Fix that of course is going to make Terry where he goes like, that's all right,
I took care of his old man, didn't I?
his old man. It's like, oh, that had a sting. And then of course they're Terry has his first little like interaction of being Batman, and
Because
Yeah.
he screws up because
Yeah.
he's so distracted. He's so focused on listening in on the conversation.
Yeah.
He's not minding his surroundings and realize there's 3 freaking guards. Like,
They're showing up on the ledge that he's on.
exactly.
Then we got a good little line exchange. Little early for Halloween. See it?
But not too soon for fall.
There you go. Yeah. It was like, oh, that's cheesy but funny.
But
It's fun.
but okay.
Yeah.
Quippy one-liners.
Yeah.
But going back to some of the Spider-Man comparisons that
Yeah.
I made during the part 1 discussion, but Terry's a teenager. Like, you can get away with quippy little jokes. It's like, it's what we like about Spider-Man. It's like, that's why Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man was so good, because they let him be a smartass when he was Spider-Man. So that's something that Terry gets to have fun as Batman, is he gets to do quippy one-liners that aren't cheesy, they're smartass. And it's just like, F you, as he falls down and like does the wings and flies around. And I like it when the security guards are reporting and Powers is like,
Batman?
Remember, like, Batman hasn't been around for 20 years.
Yeah. So like he was like, what the fuck? There's like Batman is here? Oh, this is crazy. And then finally, like after all this, like Bruce starts like talking to him through the cowl.
Which I love, because once again, as we're doing setup in these first episodes, it's like, okay, now we're kind of establishing how it's going to work. You
Yep.
know, before the CW shows even like gave it a name. And it's funny, there's actually a show that did it before this. But Bruce is the man in the chair. You know, he's
He's the
going to be
man
the
in
guy in the
the chair.
chair.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I think back that even before this, go back to the old Fox show Mantis. You
I
know,
didn't watch Mantis.
oh, dude, we've talked about, you've got to watch Mantis.
Yeah.
Carl Lumley, you know, who will become our, you know, our Martian Manhunter. You know, he plays a paraplegic billionaire who builds a suit that allows him to walk, and he becomes a superhero. And the character didn't exist in the TV movie that was the pilot, but for the actual television show, he had basically like his version, like a white version of Lucius Fox that would sat in the cave essentially and was the man in the chair.
Man in the
So, but I like that this episode establishes Bruce as the man in the chair because he's in the Bat cave at the Bat computer. He gets to sit there and like pet Ace, but he gets to be Batman without having to do the physical part, which is the whole reason he quit, was because he couldn't physically do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So they do a good, but I love like the exchange of the fact that it's like they just start arguing. He's because Bruce, all he wants is like, return the suit. Return the suit. Like, you better fucking return the suit. What are you doing? I did not get, Bruce is pissed.
Yeah, it's
Bruce,
my suit.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sitting in a closet, but I don't care. It's mine. Give it back.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get into like a little part, like a little warehouse part where he's going to take on a bunch of the guards. And he's just like, he's ready to go and everything like that. And of course, Bruce has like, he's like, okay, if you're not going to do that, I got my little red button. I'm going to disable the suit. And he does. And it's like, damn, cold because I love how Bruce just like turns away from the screen.
He
Sits there and he's just like, yeah.
And he's listening to Terry get the shit beat out of him.
Yes. Oh, it's just like he's hearing every little
Ace
bit.
is hearing it too, because Ace is like,
Yes. Ace is finally feeling, he's not barking at Terry anymore. He's like, hey, what the fuck, boss? What are we doing here? Yeah, this is not good. And then
the dog is judging him.
Yeah, pretty much. And then of course, it gets to a point where one of the guards just pulls a gun out and is like, and then he's just like, Bruce, they're gonna kill me, and then finally Bruce is just like, and then he just hits that red button, reactivates the suit, and then Terry just has a good old time beating the shit out of these guys.
Yeah, and then I love how it's like, go to the broom closet, north side.
Yeah. What the fuck? And then of course he gets to the broom closet. He goes, now I'm just a sitting duck. He's all, go to the wall and push it. It's like, yes, I designed the place, obviously, and it's like, of course, Bruce has all his kind of like when it comes to his buildings, he's going to have all his little secret entrances and passageways and everything like that. And so he's helping to get him out of there through a secret passage. And then, of course, Terry's like, Bruce still wants the suit back, but then Terry's like, I gotta get the helipad because the virus is being loaded up on there, and the dude that killed my father is there, and I did some research on you, old man. I did some research. I know you lost your parents. Guess what? Oh man, Terry, fucking ace in the sleeve.
Yeah, it's like, I can get the guy who got my dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what to say to Bruce to get him.
But okay, here's a question.
Okay.
It was manipulative, but I also don't feel like Terry meant it in that way. Like,
no.
I felt like Terry was being sincere.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it.
He was trying to tell Bruce of like why he needs to not come back, and because even Bruce was like, if you don't come back now, I'm going to disable the suit and not even turn it back on. And so he's just trying to reason with him. He's like, dude, you lost your folks. That's why you became Batman. I lost my father recently, and the man who did it is literally
there.
here. It's like, I can get there right now. Please just let me try to accomplish something while I'm here. And of course, it's like, yeah, of course that's gonna work. You know?
Well, because Bruce finally like gets over himself.
Yes, it's like,
And he's
dude.
like, hover pads on the northeast sector.
Yeah, you just, I mean, that's the thing. Is like we have to realize that we're dealing with two polar opposite, stubborn fucking people here, but we know that they're going to be, become this fucking team. And this is what I love about these first two episodes, is like how well they establish this dynamic within like I mean, we're still like 22 minutes apiece, so we're talking about 44 minutes of like of establishing
of a pilot.
of essentially a pilot, and they do such a good job. They do such a good job of establishing this dynamic where it's like, oh yeah, we, especially back then when you go, oh yeah, we know this is a little weird, guys. This is not your traditional Batman. This is something weird, and we just kind of like, figured out, but it's gonna work. And I think like watching these two episodes and seeing the dynamic, go, oh yeah, this is gonna work. And like you said, Bruce becomes the chair guy.
Yeah, he becomes the guy in the chair, and Terry's out in the field.
Yeah,
but he's also going to be young and have something Bruce never was. Terry's going to have fun being Batman.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. And we're gonna have Bruce just in his ear. So yeah, so then we get all that, and then of course, oh yeah, so that's where I think we should probably, I don't know, like this is where the action starts, and I'm like, this is probably where we should start like jumping into this thing.
Yeah, this is the clip.
It's such a good action sequence of like how, let's see, let me get to the beginning part, because we see a lot of things end up happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a busy climax of this episode.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go ahead and jump in right here to the helipad. And there's just so much going on. And it's like, yep.
All right. Do you actually know what his supervillain name is?
Blight.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I remember. Yeah, it's like, it's so funny because it's just like, because we just had Creature Commandos come out. And yeah,
the design is almost exactly the same.
It was just like, I remember even like going, wait a minute, I've seen that design before. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, Dr. Phosphorus was actually introduced as a Batman villain in Detective Comics in 1977. So what I am going to have fun kind of pointing out, and they even admitted to this, is that while they didn't want to give, and I think I said this last week, they didn't want to repeat the same villains.
Yes.
Like they didn't want to do the Beyond version of all of Batman's villains, but they gave Terry villain types. So you'll get Terry's villains and you'll say, oh, he or she is like this character. Like it's not this character repeated, but it's an archetype. So while we never had Dr. Phosphorus in the original animated series, clearly they used Dr. Phosphorus as a inspiration for Blight in the Beyond world. And as fun as that, we don't even know what his villain name is yet. Like that hasn't been revealed to us in the series.
I think we watched that little bit too much. I think YouTube just dive bombed our fucking live stream. I think we watched a little too much.
Yeah.
We're still on Twitter.
Okay.
We're still on X, Twitter, or whatever the fuck. But I just got an email. I was like, uh-oh. And then it said live stream interrupted. I think we watched a little too much of that episode.
I thought we were going. I was like,
yeah, a little too far, a little too much. It was a little too much of that. It said stream suspended for policy violations. Yikes. Uh-oh. Hopefully it's not going to be something that's going to be that puts a ding on the thing. But yeah, I think we watched a little too much of that last part right there. But it happens.
It happens. I mean, you've had to, you've had episodes demonetized before.
It's they usually do. But I just hope it doesn't get like a full on. Like usually it's just like, okay, it's a copyright, and if you could push back against it, and sometimes it might be like, oh yeah, it's fine, but most of the time it doesn't. But yeah,
I love the fact that we get dinged for.
Somebody said Eric just said we're back, so I think they just shut it off for a time being. That's weird. Wow. See that I don't get. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know. It's very strange. Very strange. But it's saying, hold on a sec.
Did they put us in timeout?
I think it was
Basically,
just put in timeout. It was like, no, you're showing way too much. Yeah, we're still we're there. Yeah.
I'm gonna be really interested to watch the replay of this and see
That's
what this looks like.
interesting. That's very interesting because I was like, we have watched longer clips before, but maybe they were just like, you're showing a little too much, so we're gonna go ahead and put you in timeout and blah,
Big
blah,
Brother
blah.
is watching us. We do live in the cyberpunk dystopian future.
Yeah, interesting. So,
Thank you, Google.
All right. Well, but that's what's so crazy about it. I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's all
We're
done.
not watching the whole. And by the way, we're talking over it.
We're talking over it. That should be part of fair use. We're not talking over the full
It's also
episode.
26 years old.
Yes, it's 26 years old. We were talking over. We were doing commentary. Yeah, it's all weird. It's all a weird thing when it comes to copyright stuff. Anyways, good way to end it. We got Bruce and Terry teaming up. We got the handshake where they're accepting of each other, but of course,
Welcome to my world.
Yes, it's going to be a rocky path, as we know.
Yes.
And then we got our first arch nemesis for Terry's Batman, which of course is Blight. You know, so again, the rebirth. You know, part 1 and part 2. They did such a good job, I think, of just being like, yeah, we know this is not the Batman that you're used to, but it's something different, and give us a chance. You know what's kind of funny is like back in like the 90s. Remember I think we talked about this before. I think we talked about it on the Vodka stream actually, was when they were doing those figurines for Batman called Batman Legends.
Yes, we did talk about that. We had a whole rabbit hole we went down the Vodka stream.
Yeah, because you were talking about the ones that you got, and there was a futuristic Batman, right?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. They made. They did, obviously it wasn't called Batman Beyond because it was before that, but it was like Batman, and I think they gave like a certain year or something like that, and it had a similar look, maybe not like full on, but. And it was, I remember having that figurine, and I think my mom still has it in a crate somewhere. But it was just kind of like, man, imagine what Batman would be like in the future. And I think like having that idea and a lot of, and I think I don't know. I think this is why this kind of works, and still having Bruce be a part of it, and it's still Kevin Conroy. And I think this is why this series was like, oh yeah, they didn't just go, no, it's a shit sandwich, cancel it right away, or something like that. That it actually worked, and now we still talk about it to this day. It's part of the fucking books. It's everything,
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
One that reminds me a little bit of it. I'm trying to remember when it came out, but it kind of reminds me of like Kingdom Come Batman in a way.
Oh yeah, because of the full on mask and
the full mask and the suit and its technology. Because once again, it's always the idea that we have to acknowledge that Bruce is going to get old and he's going to need some help.
It's going to happen. So, but let's see. Eric said the cutoff happened after you guys started talking about the establishment of Batman villain Blight. Yeah, that's so weird. Why did it just like cut off and then they're like, oh wait, someone like watching going, oh we fucked up. It's okay, guys. It's fine. It's so weird because I've had that happen before when I was like showing stuff and then it just totally just shut it off and never turned it back on. So this is weird that it actually it's still there. Like it just blinked it out for a bit. That's, I don't know. Somebody maybe, like I said, maybe it was just like they got a notice, they started watching, oh shit, they're fucking watching full episode, and then maybe they realize, thank you whoever's watching for turning the stream back
on. Yay.
Oh my God. I mean, it's so weird because it didn't go off Twitter because Twitter is just like the wild, wild west. But
I'm sorry. Hey, and every time you say that, I have Will Smith.
Wild
West.
Wild West. No, me too. But anyways, there you go, guys. Like I said, this series is just so much fun, and these first two episodes is just a great little introduction to it, and we got plenty more to come. And yeah, what's next week's episode called?
Oh, we're still in Neo Gotham.
Yeah, of course.
And well, maybe not, because remember we still have Superman. We're going to be jumping around to.
We're going to be jumping back to. Yeah.
So episode 3 of season 1 of Batman Beyond is Blackout.
Yeah, I don't even remember what.
If you look at the image, it will show you the villain that gets introduced in the episode.
Yeah, I'm sure. Should I look at it now?
Hey, you can if you want.
We'll wait on it.
Okay.
I'll wait on. I'll be more surprised. So there you go, guys. Appreciate you guys watching, even though we had that little brief little blip.
It was a blip.
Yeah.
We got snapped for like 5
we got
seconds.
snapped for a little bit. We got put into like YouTube jail for just a second there, but yeah, it happens. But no, it's great, and like I said, goosebumps when we just when we did that little intro. It's so cool. So thank you to Alessandro again for doing that intro. And go ahead, Scott. What do you got to plug away?
And that's once again, I'm kind of in limbo as far as plugging, but of course, if you want to follow me, you can find me on X at ScottDC27, on Instagram at McMerlin, and on Vero at Scott McClellan. So just keep on joining us every Wednesday night here with the DC Fan-imated stream. And when I decide, or when my life decides to calm the fuck down, I will have.
You almost said wife.
I did, and that was a bit of a Freudian slip, probably.
That's funny. Anyways, keep going.
No, you fucker. You had to point that out, didn't you?
I heard it. I had to. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for right now. But thank y'all. I continue to love doing this stream every week, and I'm glad for all of you who join us. It's so much fun, and I feel that there's a certain renewed enthusiasm with the beginning of Batman Beyond, and it makes me happy to see it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, hit that like, thumbs up. We'll see you next week, or we'll see you on the Friday Vodka stream if you want to join that. And appreciate you guys. Support the channel if you want to with members or Patreon. And yeah, guys, we love you, and we will talk to you later.